everybody. Hi. Hi. Welcome to an on-the-road edition to The Story is Right Outside Your Door. I'm your host, Yoni from Holster Mountain Tours. We are literally on the road. I'm driving around the area of Mevaseret Zion because I wanted to stop off on the way in order to tell you a story. I got a little bit turned around while I was driving around here. Turned around is tour guide lingo for lost. I got a little bit lost driving around. I'm trying to get to a spot called the Castel because I'll explain the whole story. Usually, for the past 2 months, I would go on a tour on Tuesdays and I would do the video on Wednesdays. But this week, my wonderful client, Harriet Mark, she is currently in the back seat of the car. She needed to change it from Tuesday to Wednesday this week, which is totally fine. But I told her, I said, listen, I got the 6 o'clock thing, this video that I do every Wednesday, which she knew in advance because she watches it. I said, I got to do this video. She said, no problem, you got it. And I took this as an opportunity because really the whole idea behind the video itself, behind the video series, the whole reason that I decided to call it The Story is Right Outside Your Door is because I wanted to drive home the point, no pun intended, I want to drive home the point that there are stories everywhere. No matter where you are in this country, there's a story to be found. And so I saw this as a wonderful opportunity for me to put my money where my mouth is. Oh, Clara, I've already passed your area. I'm sorry. I just passed by it about 3 minutes ago, maybe 4 minutes ago. That's Clara, my mother-in-law. She lives in Har Adar, which is, as I just said, not very far from here at all. Har Adar also has a great story to it. There's a wonderful story about the capture of Har Adar and the name of Har Adar, how the place got its name to begin with. But that's not the story that I wanted to tell today. I wanted to tell the story of the Castel, which is in Mevaseret Zion. Mevaseret Zion in and of itself is an interesting story because it's not actually called Mevaseret Zion. There's two parts of the town. One is Mevaseret Yerushalayim, and the other one is Ma'oz Zion. I think I just missed my turn again. Mevaseret Yerushalayim and Ma'oz Zion, and people just, for the most part, put the two together and called it Mevaseret Zion. Can I not go up this way? According to the signage, I can't, but I'm going to go anyway. I just broke the law. You just have me on video right now. All of you have me on video breaking the law. So feel free to turn me into the authorities if you want, because I've got no defense. I actually did it, officers. I went the wrong way down a one-way street. Of course, I could always use the defense from the wonderful movie Dumb and Dumber. No, not Dumb and Dumber. Excuse me, from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And someone says to the guy, "Hey, you're going the wrong way." He was going down the wrong way down a one-way street. You're going the wrong way. And the guy goes, "Yeah, thank you, buddy. How do you know which way I'm going?" Not a great joke. It comes out much better from Steve Martin's mouth. Anyways, so as I was saying, I want to tell the story of the Castel, which I'm coming up to right now. The Castel is the word Castel is based on the Latin word castellum, which is where we get the word castle in English. And it's almost spelled like castle. A lot of people, when they come to Israel and they see the signs on the side of the road for the Castel, they think that some idiot just misspelled the English word for castle. And while there is a lot of misspelling that goes on in signage in Israel, this is not one of them. This is a case where it's actually meant to be spelled the way that it's spelled. I'm going to leave the AC on. Awesome. So come with me outside of the car, and I'll tell you the story of the Castel. Okay. I'm leaving the windows open, so don't worry about that. So the story of the Castel starts already in the Crusader period. It's a mountain that overlooks what is today known as Highway 1, which always throughout antiquity was known as an important highway connecting the coastal area, which is what we know today So hold on one second. I'm being told that I can't go in. בסדר, אני רק נשאר פה, זה בסדר? אין בעיה. I gotta leave. They're closing the park, so I can't stay even in the parking lot. So come with me once again into the car. This is a weird video this week. Come with me once again into the car, and we'll just drive just to the gate of the parking lot, and I'll finish telling the story from there. I love that this is going on live.
Okay.
All right. So, as I was saying, the Crusaders built a fortress on top of this mountain that was overlooking the road between the coastal area, which is today where Tel Aviv is, and the mountainous area where Yerushalayim is. They called it Castellum, which means a fortress, and it was a great spot to look over the road. It wasn't only the Crusaders that knew that this was a great spot to overlook the road, and throughout history, many armies have taken possession of that fortress on top of the hill. I'll see if I can get a good view of it from outside the gate. Daniela says hi, Harriet.
Hi, Daniela.
Okay, so I can't really see the top of the mountain from here. Oh, Daniela says you are a good sport. She definitely is a good sport. And all you people who are watching, you're also good sports, because it really does take a certain level of patience to watch a guy drive around looking for a good spot to tell a story. So in any case, one of the armies, the conquering armies that held this position, was the local Arab militia just before the establishment of the State of Israel. There was a lot of different people that were fighting against the Jewish forces in the War of Independence. One of them was local Arab militia. It wasn't like an organized fighting force like the Jordanian Legion. This was more of just local bands of Arabs that fought under their tribal leader or local leader. So the local Arab militia held the Castell. And the Castell actually had to be conquered twice. Let me just pull over onto the sidewalk over here. I already broke a bunch of laws on camera. May as well break another one. Again, who's going to stop me, really? Except for you good viewers, you wonderful law-abiding viewers. You might stop me. Talk some sense into me. Tell me not to break any laws. So I'm going to go over here. I'm leaving my car running in the middle of a neighborhood. It's fine. Jerusalem doesn't really have, Israel doesn't really have so much violent crime, especially in this area over here. It's okay. I'm going to leave it running. So the Arab militia had this area, but the Jewish forces needed this area because it was the area that connected, as I said, the road from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. You can see there's a large flag up there behind me, right over there. That's the fortress right there. So it's a little bit behind me. So they wanted to capture this area, but it was not an easy capture. They needed to scope the place out first. They wanted to make sure that everything was safe before they went up into this dangerous hill to capture the fortress. So they were camped out. There was a small base camp set up in Kiryat Anavim, which is actually just at the base of the mountain, right where my mother-in-law lives. Clara, I mentioned that you live in Har Adar. You know you live in Har Adar. I mentioned to everyone else that you live in Har Adar. At the base of the mountain of Har Adar, there's a small town called Kiryat Anavim, and the Israeli forces were based in Kiryat Anavim. They had a small temporary base there, and they sent out some soldiers around 2:00 in the morning. They sent out some soldiers to go and scout out the castle. They went up this hill, and as you can see, it's a pretty steep hill behind me. They went up the hill to see if they could get an idea of what was going on in there. And so these guys, they started going up the hill. It was dark. It was scary. They start going up the hill, and they're like, you know what? Just like out of any horror movie, they said to each other, "It's too quiet. It's too quiet. I think something's up. Something's going on." So they radioed back to headquarters and told them, like, guys, it's too quiet. I think we're being set up. And headquarters said, no, I don't think you're being set up. There's no way that they know that we're coming. Just keep on going, see what you see. And they slowly went up the hill. They slowly went up all the way to the top of the mountain until they got up into the fortress. And it was empty. The entire fortress was completely empty. There was nobody there. So they reported back. They said, there's nobody here. Okay, great. So they left a small force of men there, and the bulk of the force continued on its way to Jerusalem. So why was it empty? means it's so silly that it was empty, from the side of the Arab forces. Why would they leave such a strategic place unguarded? And the answer is they did know that we were coming. They absolutely knew that we were coming, and they went back. They left their post to go get reinforcements. And the following day, they showed up with hundreds, maybe thousands of local Arab militia forces, and they surrounded the place. And they sent out their spokesman, who was the nephew of Hajj Amin al Husseini. His name is Abdul Qadir al Husseini. I think I'm getting that right. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. But I'm pretty sure it was Abdul Qadir al Husseini, and he was leading the forces. He had his lieutenants standing on either side of him, and they started negotiating with the Jews for the Jews to surrender. I don't know who fired the first shot. I really don't. I'm sure that there are historians that do know who fired the first shot, but there was a pretty intense battle, which leads us to the trivia question of the day. Which Arab leader survived the Battle of the Castel? If you know the answer, give a thumbs up or just give an indication that you know the answer, but don't give it away so that people who are watching this video later, they'll be able to try to answer that question also. Which Arab leader survived the Battle of the Castel? So, what happened? This battle rages on, and in the end, unfortunately for us, the Arab militia is able to conquer the Castel. They retook it from Jewish forces, but we needed it. We needed this area in order to have free travel between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. We needed this fortress. So we set up a temporary camp once again in Kiryat Anavim the following night, and they sent up an expeditionary force. They sent up a couple of guys to go scout the area out. They said, go. They sent them about 2 o'clock in the morning and said, go up the hill, see what's there. And once again, they said, it's too quiet. They radioed back to base camp. They said, I think that they're setting us up. I think that they know we're coming. And they said, no. They're never going to expect another attack the following night. We just did this last night. There's no way that they're going to expect the night right after. So the guy said, okay, whatever, we'll keep going. And they went up. And guess what? It was empty again. The whole fortress was completely empty, which, of course, you have to ask the question, why? Why did the Arabs leave it again? They knew that it was strategic. That's why they left it in the first place. And they knew that we wanted it. They knew that we were fighting for it. So why would they leave it again? Why would they abandon the site again the second time? And the answer is that one of the people who did not survive, I'm not answering the trivia question yet, but one of the people who did not survive that battle was Abdul Qadir al-Husseini, the nephew of the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. He was killed in that battle, and his funeral was that evening. And everybody who was anybody was at that funeral, and nobody wanted to be left behind guarding an outpost, no matter how important that outpost might be. They didn't want to stay behind guarding it if it meant missing that funeral. So they left their post and they went to Jerusalem to attend the funeral of Abdul Qadir al-Husseini, leaving it empty once again for us to man. And we left another force of soldiers, this time a larger force of soldiers, to take the place. So the Castel is a unique battle site in that it's the only battle site that I know of that was conquered twice within 2 nights, and both times it was completely empty. Excuse me. So that's a little bit of the story of the Castel. It's just a cute little story on the road to Jerusalem. I'm not even at Jerusalem yet. We had an amazing day, by the way. Harriet, normally we do half days, but sometimes we do full days. Today was a full day. We went to Herzliya. If you guys have never been to Herzliya, you might think, okay, Herzliya, it's a hoity-toity, rich town, which, by the way, it is. The cars that drive around there are so beautiful. They're just, I love it so much. The houses are out of this world. It's just, if you're not a greedy person and you can just look at other people's wealth and appreciate it and be happy for them, I so highly recommend driving through Herzliya just because it's beautiful. But there's so much more to it than that. We found this amazing, I didn't find it. Credit where credit is due. Harriet found this amazing museum called the Beit Rishonim. Beit Rishonim is a museum. It's a free museum that is basically a chronicle of the first settlers of Herzliya. They founded in 1924, and it talks about the life that they led there, the agriculture that they started growing there, because it started as an agricultural community, and it's really wonderful. They have a great movie. It takes maybe 5 minutes to watch this movie, and you see how they took this area that was bordered between the Mediterranean Sea, a swamp, and a bunch of mountains. And they just chose this area in between the swamp and the mountains and made it flourish, and then eventually drained the swamp and made that flourish. It's an amazing story. I highly recommend it. If you have the time, go to Herzliya, see that museum. We then went to this great place called Apollonia, which is just to the north of Herzliya. And to get there, you have to drive through Herzliya Pituach, which is an even more hoity-toity, fancy schmancy neighborhood, one of the richest neighborhoods in the entire country. It's great. It's a great place. So we went to Apollonia, which was it's actually called Arsuf, which was a Phoenician city, and then it was I don't know if there was any Jewish population there, but there was definitely a Roman city and a Byzantine city, and then the Crusaders came and they built a fortress there, and it's gorgeous. It's right on a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean. I'm going to post a bunch of pictures in not only in my story on Instagram, but also I'm going to post them onto Instagram itself. They're just so beautiful. I'm not much for taking pictures of the scenery because I'm more of a dynamic kind of a guy, but I had to take pictures of the scenery when I was there because it's just beautiful. So those are just some of the things that we saw on our day today. And on our way back from the area of Herzliya, I had to find a place to tell a story. And as I said, it's a challenge because you have to know, you have to just find a story anywhere you go. Well, luckily, as 6 o'clock was coming closer, I saw that we were getting right by the Castel, so I pulled over and I told the story over here. It's such an amazing idea that you really can find a story anywhere in this country, and I'm happy that I was able to put my money where my mouth is. Jordana, the trivia questions are supposed to be hard. So the question is, which Arab leader did not survive which Arab leader did survive the Battle of the Castel? We said that Abdel Khader al-Husseini did not survive. He was killed in that battle. But one of his lieutenants that was standing on either, I told you he had his two lieutenants that were standing on both sides of him when he was trying to negotiate a surrender of the Jewish forces. One of his lieutenants was a very young Yasser Arafat. So Yasser Arafat was the one who did survive the Battle of the Castel. He went on to live and win the Nobel Peace Prize. So that's great. I'm not going to go into a whole thing about Yasser Arafat right now. There are plenty of stories about him that I could go through, but I'm not going to talk about that. So that about wraps it up. I don't know how long that was today. It might have been a little bit shorter than usual. I don't know. Maybe it was a little bit longer with all the driving around that I did. But that's the story that I'm telling about today. Let me know if there's any particular story you want to hear. Let me know if there's a site you want to see, a story you want to hear, anything like that. I'm more than happy to take requests for all these locations that I go to and stories that I tell. And that's about it. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for watching the story. Keep on watching. Tell other people to watch the stories also, and tune into my Instagram as well. Tune in. I'm an old guy. I say tune in even though it's not tuning in. But yeah, check out my Instagram as well, and I'll have stories on there, and I'll post a lot of pictures on there that I don't necessarily post on my Facebook page. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, by the way, I wanted to mention this. I mentioned that Harriet had pointed out the Museum of Beit Rishonim. I wanted to also say that it was my first time there. I'd never been to that museum. I actually looked up some information for them online. I couldn't really find it. It was my first time at the museum, and I found it fascinating. So that's another reason why I love going on these trips with Harriet. And if you guys are interested, I'll be happy to go on trips with you as well, because I don't just get to teach and tell stories. I get to learn stuff also. It's beneficial to me as well. So I get a big kick out of doing things like that, learning new parts of the country, learning new aspects of the country, new stories for me to tell other people. It's really great, and I really love it. In any case, that's about it for this week. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week at 6 o'clock.